Hello everyone and welcome to part 10 of our F1 driver career mode here for Williams for the final round of the season at Abu Dhabi. Last time out we were in Brazil, where we came home in a nice P9 to get ourselves a couple of points in a very intense last couple lap battle between ourselves and three other cars. In the end we were able to come out on top of that battle to get that P9 just ahead of Ricardo, who finished P10. You can see we're just 4 points behind Ricardo in the championship, and to be honest, we're not really thinking about getting him in this round. Obviously it'll be nice, but we're going to need some good luck to gain 4 points on him in this championship. But the main story is looking at the front of the championship, 1 point separating Leclerc and Perez from the top spot. So those guys are going to be duking it out in Abu Dhabi, and every little thing can matter to get that 1 point. It's literally whoever finishes ahead of the other will win the championship. So it is insanely close in terms of the car performance. You can see we are a firm mid-pack car now at this point, so it's been a very good season for Williams here. We've progressed very nicely to get ourselves from a backmarker car to a midfield car, and hopefully further on in the future we can see some more progression, whether we're with the team or not. It is nice to see Williams further up the grid. It has been a bit sad seeing them around the back, so yeah, back where they belong. Well, I say belong, towards the front if you look historically is where they belong, but it's nice to at least see them in the fight. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the grid rundown for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and the final round of the season.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Benjamin completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Leclerc, Pierre Gasly and Ricciardo. Verstappen, they've taken a grid penalty. Ocon, Bottas and Alex Albon. Tsunoda, Stroll, Kevin Magnussen and Fernando Alonso. Vettel, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Perez, George Russell and Lando Norris, they've taken a grid penalty. Joe and Mick Schumacher. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, now that we've got some good points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are lining up on the grid for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in second place, front row of the grid. The amount of penalties that have been taken by people is absolutely insane. Hamilton, myself, Gasly and Ocon are the only drivers, 4 drivers out of 20, that haven't taken a penalty heading into this race. So the entire grid is massively shaken up. We qualified further down towards the bottom of the top 10. We're, I think, right on the edge of the top 10. And somehow we have ended up on the front row of the grid. Absolutely insane. We've got to try and make the most of this opportunity and see at least how long we can keep these guys behind. There are going to be a lot, and I mean a lot, of fast cars working their way through the field and hunting us down. So we just got to try and ignore that pressure, get as good a launch as possible off the line, and try and keep as many spots as possible come the end of the race. We've lined up nicely on the grid, optimal parking position. And yeah, we just got to focus on these red lights. We're sitting there a long time, a lot longer than we're used to, waiting for the grid to line up. But we're going to go to 5 red lights, and we are away for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Finally, that was a very long hold on the 5 red lights. It's not an amazing start. Sainz gets an awesome launch, goes straight to attacking for the lead. Gasly is alongside us on our outside in the turn 1. We hold on to Gasly for P3. And Sainz has made his way through to P2, starting from down in P4, I believe. So yeah, very good start there for the Spaniard in the Ferrari, and we are immediately under attack once again from Pierre Gasly, heading into the new hairpin here. But Leclerc dives it down the inside of the AlphaTauri, gets the move done into P4, and is now right behind us. Leclerc obviously fighting for that championship. Perez right down in P11. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to chase down this Ferrari and win that title. Both of these guys are going for their first World Championship as Leclerc sends it down our inside into the chicane. We're going to go around the outside of the first part. We'll have the insides for the second part, so we hold third place for now. However, you can see that Ferrari all over the back of us, right under our rear wing, using ERS. Obviously, he's got the slipstream here. He's going to go side by side with us as we're towards another new hairpin on this track, and Leclerc's completely ahead of us and back on the racing line by the time we're even at the corner. And so that's us now down to P4, and we've just got to keep our eyes on Esteban Ocon behind us in P5 in the Alpine here. Now on lap 2, looking back, Sergio Perez, as I said, he's got a lot of work to do, and he's got to do it quickly if he wants to get up towards Charles Leclerc. And here you go, diving to the inside of the hairpin, getting the move done on Valtteri Bottas, the man that will be leaving us at the end of this race, and that is Perez into P9. So not a bad start. I believe he started right down in P16, so very, very good start to the race for the Mexican. He's actually under attack again from Valtteri Bottas here. So Bottas not going out of F1 here without a fight. He's going to, and he doesn't care who it is either. He doesn't care that this is for a championship here for Perez. He's going to fight whoever he can, and Perez is still not quite ahead. That Alfa Romeo, very good in a straight line. As you can see, it's going to be 2 by 2 by 2 heading down in towards the third sector here. Perez does eventually get the move done. No, but Bottas still holding position. He does not want to let this go. They're going to go side by side once again. Perez is going to have to hold it around the outside. Very brave from Perez. He just about went over that curb there and slightly off track, but he holds position nevertheless. Gets himself into P9. Further back, Albon holding on to a position from Yuki Tsunoda there, trying to hold it. Has he got the move done? Not quite. Tsunoda gets ahead of our teammate, who now drops down to P12, so that's a shame there for Albon. He's got the pace for points. It's just, yeah, he's just not quite as quick as we are. He's maybe a tenth or two slower per lap, and that's all he needs to just drop just outside of that points range, which is a huge shame for our teammate. But now behind us, Verstappen in P6, going for a move on Esteban Ocon to get into P5. He's going to go around the outside of the chicane, inside for the second part, similar to what we did to Leclerc on the first lap. But Ocon has had a good exit here, so he's going to keep it alongside the Dutchman here. Well, he can no longer defend his World Championship title because he's out of the running for this season's championship. He's going to go around the outside of the Alpine, so Max still got it there. A very nice move there from the Red Bull to get himself in a P5, and that's going to put a bit of pressure on myself now, having a very angry charging Max chasing us down now. Meanwhile, back on lap 4, we got Sergio Perez going for a move on Pierre Gasly in the junior Red Bull team, and it's not a super difficult move. In fact, Bottas following Perez through there, and he actually has the move done there, so Gasly losing 2 spots for the price of 1, and he's actually now under attack from his teammate, although he's going to send it to the inside of Bottas and try and get the move done there. Is it going to happen? They're going to be side by side on the exit. Bottas should have the better run out of the corner, and he does get ahead of the AlphaTauri, and that looks like Tsunoda even trying to get a move done on his teammate Albon in this as well. Look at this huge pack of cars. We've even got George Russell in the Mercedes just behind, trying to work his way through after getting a bunch of grid penalties as well for changing engine components. Albon gets ahead of Pierre Gasly. So Gasly's lost a whole bunch of spots. Remember, he was ahead of Perez at the start of this lap, who's now in P8, and Gasly has now dropped right down to P12, so this has been a shocking lap for the Frenchman in the AlphaTauri there. Albon into P11, looking to get one more spot to get himself into the points. Meanwhile, Stroll now around the outside of Pierre Gasly. So I wonder if Gasly has maybe a bit of front wing damage, because he's losing a lot of positions as the Aston Martin gets ahead of him. Meanwhile, Russell going side by side with Fernando Alonso. This is where we saw Perez do it. And Russell there's smashed into the back of Sebastian Vettel and has completely lost his front wing, so he's going to have to pit at the end of this lap. And that's actually caused a safety car due to the amount of debris that's on track. You can see everyone going slowly now as the safety car is being called out. So that might work out for Russell, to be honest, because he's now going to pit. No one else is going to pit because it's too early, but he's going to pit because he has to change his front wing. He'll go into a fresh set of mediums, and he won't really lose that many spots. He'll lose maybe 2 or 3 spots here, but he'll be on the back of this train with some fresh tyres, so that could work out there for the Brit. And then meanwhile, here's an order check under safety car. Hamilton leading the way ahead of Sainz and Leclerc in the championship hunt. They're leading the championship by a point in 3rd place, and then it is ourselves in P4, doing very well for ourselves to still be here on lap 6. We've got Verstappen just behind us, though, who will be looking to change that. Ricciardo in McLaren doing very well for himself as well in P6. Ocon in the Alpine sits just behind him in P7, and Perez also in the championship hunt in P8 will be looking to make as many places as he can. This safety car may have actually helped him a bit, closing everyone up, and he may just be going absolutely wild on this restart, trying to get places and close in on Charles Leclerc. Then you have Tsunoda in P9, Bottas rounding out the points, and our teammate Albon sitting in P11 will also be looking to get a good restart and get himself into the points paying positions. And as I was saying, George Russell in a good position himself now. He's actually only lost 1 spot since losing that front wing, and he's now on a fresh set of medium tyres and could be very, very aggressive now on the restart to this race. We can see here lap 7. In lap 7, we are going to be restarting and just trying to make sure we get a nice clean restart. Not really attacking Leclerc because those guys are a lot quicker than us, but just making sure not to make any silly mistakes on some slightly cold tyres, and just allowing all the guys behind us to come straight through. You can see we've done that very well. We've stayed in P4. We haven't lost a massive amount of time to the guys ahead. Obviously, we will lose time to them because they're just that much quicker. But as we now head down towards the hairpin, Verstappen is going to go for a dive to the inside, and I'm not going to massively fight it, really. That Red Bull is a lot quicker. You can see tucking in behind on the exit. I'm going to sit behind him down this main straight, utilize that slipstream, and try and hold off Daniel Ricciardo from attacking us. You can see as we head down towards the chicane, Max goes defensive, which is a bit of a shame. That'll slow us down. I'm not really planning on going for a move on the Dutchman. You can see just slotting back in behind again under the braking zone, and yeah, we just hold on to P5 for now over our fellow Aussie in the McLaren. But you can see on lap 11, our Ricciardo is still all over the back of us. We're 1.5 seconds behind those faster guys that have taken off now in that front four battle, and Ricciardo sweeps around our outside pretty easily there. I'm going to try and keep my nose in, but just not quite able to, so we tuck back in behind the McLaren. And yeah, for now, we're down into P6, but I'm going to be looking to try and re-overtake him. Obviously, remember, we're in this little championship fight between ourselves for P9 and P10, which I wasn't really expecting to mean anything in this Grand Prix, but here we are battling Ricciardo for what could be some vital positions towards that little battle that we have going on between ourselves. You can see here, lap 12 around the outside. Can we get the move done? We do sweep around the outside of our fellow Aussie. Meanwhile, up ahead, Verstappen, Sainz, and Leclerc all racing each other, and I think Charles Leclerc in the championship hunt, the championship leader heading into this round, has front wing damage. Look how slow he's going through the third sector here. We are all over the back of him. He definitely has some sort of damage. That could be huge. That could have massive championship implications here in this Grand Prix. We're just under halfway through the way. You can see we're going to be coming in for our scheduled pit stop. So luckily for Leclerc, he doesn't have to pit super early and make an extra pit stop. He will be able to just sort of jump on the hards like we are, but he is going to have to change that front wing. You can see there the Ferrari pit crew do have that front wing out, and so that could be massive. He's going to lose a solid 5-6 seconds with that front wing change. You can see we get out ahead of the Ferrari. Luckily, we get out just before Bottas gets up to us there in the pit lane, otherwise we would have been held. But for now, we're in P16. We have gained a position on Charles Leclerc, and so that puts us into P4 for now. Meanwhile, while we're exiting the pit lane, Verstappen going for a move on Carlos Sainz, the other Ferrari. Max has had a very good race so far, just flying through these positions. You can see going alongside the Ferrari. Sainz are going to try his best to hold on here, but Max is now ahead. Sainz will have the DRS though to go for a counter attack down the back straight, but Max holds on to the position, and that is a P2, although Sainz tries to go around the outside, but just not quite able to make it stick, and that is Max into P2 now officially, and he's going to try his best to pull away from those guys. And meanwhile, now on lap 14, you can see running a little bit wide at turn 1, but this is all the rest of the guys coming out of the pit lane, and Verstappen does come out ahead of us, 1.2 seconds ahead, and Ricciardo about 8/10 behind. So really, the gaps haven't changed that much. In fact, we may have even pulled a little bit of a gap on our fellow Aussie there. But another order check here on lap 17 now. We have Hamilton leading the way by 7.5 seconds now over Max Verstappen. So very, very good lead there for the Mercedes driver. Carlos Sainz now sits in third place. Ourselves in P4 with Esteban Ocon within a second chasing us down for that fourth spot. Ricciardo in P6 getting chased down by Charles Leclerc, who will not be happy at this point. He is still ahead of Perez and still on track to win the championship, but this has been made a little bit more difficult than it needed to be for him now, and he'll be hunting that McLaren down. Meanwhile, here is Perez sitting in P9 hunting down Yuki Tsunoda, who you would think would try and make this as easy as possible for the Red Bull driver in the championship hunt. And then it's Valtteri Bottas rounding out the points in his final drive in Formula 1. Meanwhile, our teammate Albon in P14, so he has unfortunately lost some spots, and a points finish will be a very unlikely look for our teammate there. You can see Leclerc does get ahead of Ricciardo there, although Ricciardo actually coming back at the Ferrari to the inside of the hairpin. Leclerc's going to have to try and hold it right around the outside, which he does there. That Ferrari obviously a lot quicker than the McLaren, and so Leclerc gets into P6 and will be chasing down myself and Ocon now on lap 18. Ocon is right on the back of us. I don't have a lot of ERS left, so I'm trying to conserve it. I'm using it where I need to, but not just completely dropping the battery. And while we're in that bit of a vulnerable position, you can see Ocon sending it down the inside. I'm going to try and hold the outside, but just running a little bit wide on that outside curve. I'm going to hold the inside now through the triple right-hander, but we just it's very tight there, trying to hold it down the inside, and so Ocon is able to get the move done into P4, and we're down to P5 for now, and I want to try and stick to the back of this Alpine to get that move back on him. You can see now in the next lap on lap 19, we are still all over the back of Esteban, and we're going to go to the outside of the hairpin. We're going to be side by side into the corner, still trying to conserve a bit of ERS. I don't want to completely dump the battery, and we do get the move done there on the Frenchman, back into P4, but this little bit of a squabble going on between ourselves and Ocon has allowed Leclerc to close in on the back of this battle. As you can see now on lap 20, Leclerc to the inside of Ocon at turn 1. That is a bit of an unconventional place to go for a move here. You don't really normally get enough of a run to get that move done, and Leclerc does have to slot back in behind the Alpine, but he has shown his nose. He's shown how aggressive he's willing to be to pull away from Sergio Perez. Perez not that far back, you can see he's just in the background there, so the slightest mistake here from Leclerc could get Perez ahead of him and into the championship lead as they head down the back straight now. And this little bit of a battle going on between Ocon and Leclerc has allowed us to get out of DRS range of Ocon, and that allows Leclerc to very, very easily get the move done back onto the racing line before the braking zone. Although Leclerc locks the brakes there, he's feeling the pressure, and he is able to hold it ahead of the Alpine. That could have been a very, very big mistake there for Leclerc. If he had to lock those wheels for another split second, it could have allowed a bunch of guys to try and get the move done on him. You can see Ocon trying to get a move done on the Ferrari, not quite able to do it, and that's going to allow Ricciardo to very cheekily get his nose down the inside there and get the move done. And actually Tsunoda even trying to get the move done here on the Alpine round the outside. Very brave move there for the Japanese driver in the AlphaTauri. Gets the move done into P7, and I wonder if Ocon maybe has a bit of front wing damage because he lost a lot of positions. You can see Perez now all over the back of the Alpine as they head through the second last corner, and Ocon does peel into the pit lane there, so that is unfortunate there for the Frenchman. He did get some damage. I'm not sure with who, maybe with Charles Leclerc when he had that lock-up at the end of this straight that we're on now, as the Ferrari sends down the inside, and it's not even a competition, is it? He just flies past us in the Ferrari, back onto the racing line, before anywhere near the braking zone there, and that is us back down into P5 now. Obviously not expecting to race these front guys. We're expecting a lot of them to work their way through the field and get ahead of us, just trying to hold on ahead of the rest of the mid-pack cars. As you can see, we've got a nice little gap to Ricciardo, and just going to try and stick to the back of this Ferrari for as long as we can to pull ourselves away from the rest of those mid-pack cars as we now head on to lap 23. This is also going to help us with our little mission there of pulling away from these guys as Ricciardo locks up into the hairpin. That's going to get Tsunoda up alongside him. Obviously Ricciardo will get the better run, but Tsunoda will be very, very close within slipstream range, and they're going to be 2 by 2 here, Tsunoda and Ricciardo, and then just behind Perez and Russell, and Perez has got the move done on the Mercedes driver. Tsunoda still trying to get the move done on the McLaren. They're going to go side by side through the chicane. This is going to lose them a lot of time to ourselves, which is exactly what we want. Tsunoda gets the better exit out of the chicane there, but he does not have DRS, so now it's going to be an absolute swamp for Tsunoda down the hairpin. Ricciardo gets the move done. Perez sends it down the inside very late on the brakes. He knows that he's got to try and chase after Charles Leclerc, who's already taking off up the road now in a bit of clear air. He goes around the outside of Tsunoda through the triple right-hander, but Tsunoda looks like he's just going to hold on. Maybe not. Perez really doesn't want to let this go, and the junior Red Bull driver is not letting this go very easy. I suspect Christian Horner and Helmut Marko will have a lot to say about that, because he is really holding up Perez, and Perez into the pit lane. It looks like he's lost the front left end plate on his front wing, and that is pretty much confirmed. Sergio Perez's championship hopes are over unless Leclerc retires from the Grand Prix or something, and Perez is somehow able to come back and score just 1 point, but that is looking very unlikely as he tumbles down the order down into P17. So yeah, Horner definitely going to have a lot to say about that, as Tsunoda now under attack from George Russell and the Mercedes, who has also had a very good race for himself, has worked his way up into P7 now after, remember, he had to pit very early on in the race to change his front wing. I say change his front wing. He didn't have any front wing to change. It was just completely gone. He had to get a new front wing put on that car under safety car, and he now finds himself in P7 getting ahead of the AlphaTauri. He does just pull in ahead. Tsunoda does have the DRS, so he's going to pull back to the inside here. We've seen a lot of this in this Grand Prix. Tsunoda to the inside of the hairpin. Russell's going to try and hold the outside line with that better Mercedes car, and he does get the move done. Tsunoda keeps his nose in, just not quite able to get the exit he wants, and Russell gets into P7. He's going to be chasing down Daniel Ricciardo, and I doubt that will take very long whatsoever, because that Mercedes, especially at the hands of Russell right now, is absolutely rapid. You can see on lap 26 now, only 4 laps to go, and Russell is right on the back of the McLaren. He'll have DRS. Ricciardo does not have DRS on us, so this should be fairly easy pickings for George Russell. He's closing on the back of the McLaren. He goes to the inside as they head down towards the chicane, down the straight. Is he going to get the move done under brakes? It looks like he gets very close to the back of us. That's just how much better the braking performance is of that Mercedes. He gets the move done on Ricciardo, and he's now right on the back of us. Can we hold off the Brit for 3.5 laps at this point? You can see already there he's right on the back of us because we don't have DRS. He somehow does have the DRS. He was just closed in on us that much in the last half a lap that he's now within DRS range, and we're going to have to try and defend very hard for the next 3 laps here if we want to hold position over the Mercedes on lap 27. Now the lap after he passed Ricciardo, you can see he's right on the back of us, closing in. He's not able to go for the move here into the braking zone for the chicane, but he's right behind us. We go a little bit wide, not an ideal line through the chicane there. That's going to allow George to get the better exit. He's going to have the DRS. I imagine he's going to be dumping that ERS battery to close in and get the move done on us as we head down towards the hairpin. You can see I'm deploying as well, but I still just don't have a lot of battery. I was using a lot of battery to try and keep ahead of that midfield pack and keep out of that DRS range, and that has hurt us here in this battle as we struggle to hold it ahead of the Mercedes. And Russell does get the move done there pretty easily for him, to be honest, and that is us now down to P6, and still not a bad position for us. P6 in a Williams. We are a mid-pack car now, so we should be expecting to be at least close to the point. So a P6 is a good position for us. Not as amazing as it would have been at the start of the season, obviously, with a backmarker car. But P6 still not shabby by any means. But now we head to the last lap of the Grand Prix, and this man, Lewis Hamilton, what a dominant race from him, sort of mirroring Leclerc's performance last time out in Brazil, where he won by 14.5 seconds. It's an 11.5 second win here for Lewis Hamilton, for Mercedes. They haven't had the best season, so it's good to see Hamilton get the win. He's also had just a tough season personally, so very good to see there. Verstappen will come through to get a P2, a very nice comeback drive there for the Dutchman, and Sainz getting a podium there for Ferrari. Ferrari will look at the Constructors' Championships, and it is a massive gap to his teammate back in 4th place, but nevertheless, 18.5 seconds back. Charles Leclerc will now round the final 2 corners, and if he gets around this last corner without issue, he will be the Drivers' World Champion for the first time in his Formula 1 career. Congratulations, Charles Leclerc. You are a Formula 1 champion. Russell finishes in P5, and we come home to finish in a very, very decent P6.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Well, it's certainly been an incredible year for Formula 1, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula 1 World Drivers' Champion. Victory today then, but bittersweet emotions, I'm sure, as the championship slips through their fingers. Even so, what a fantastic final race of the season this was. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners.
So here we are with the results for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Hamilton, with a very dominant victory, first lap of the race as well, takes maximum points away from the Grand Prix. Verstappen finishing in P2, Sainz P3, and Charles Leclerc is your Drivers' World Championship here for Season 1 of our F1 22 driver career mode. Very big win for him in the end there. Well, I say win, he didn't win the race, but he winning the championship there. Perez right down in P14 will not be happy with that race. He'll have a lot to say to Yuki Tsunoda, I imagine. And it was sort of going to be a very uphill battle for him from the very start, with Leclerc starting in P4. and himself starting right down in P16. He made an incredible comeback, but in the end, it was just a little bit too much, and he was a little too aggressive, and it cost him a chance at his first World Championship. We finished P6 though in the Grand Prix, getting 8 points. It was enough to close in 2 points to Ricciardo in the championship, but we needed 4 points to tie and to win on countback of podiums. Obviously, we got a second place in the Netherlands, and Ricciardo had a third place a little bit earlier on in the season, but due to that second place, we would have beaten him in the championship, even though we would have tied. And so yeah, in the end, that move from George Russell was very crucial for us ending up in P10 instead of P9, but that move was also crucial for George because that got him ahead of, or at least kept him ahead of Verstappen. If he had stayed behind us, then Verstappen would have outscored Russell by a couple of points in the championship. But that win from Hamilton also puts him ahead of his teammate. So a very close fight for Mercedes, all throughout the field, really, between myself and Ricciardo, between Perez and Leclerc, and between the two Mercedes and Verstappen. There was a lot going on, a lot at stake in this final Grand Prix. Even in the Constructors, you can see Ferrari lock out that Constructors Championship ahead of Red Bull, Alfa Romeo overtaking Haas at the very last second in this championship by 1 single point, and we just about keep it ahead of AlphaTauri there with that P6. So in the end, a very nice season for Williams to finish P6 in the Constructors' Championship. And I think for a first season here, we've done very well. Obviously, we got very lucky with that P2 in the Netherlands. That was pretty much half of the points that we scored over the course of the season. And that was just insane. Definitely the very highest highlight of the season there. We got very lucky with the rain and with the safety car coming out at perfect time, and all of it just playing in together perfectly. But you can see here the season results for each individual race breakdown for the drivers. And in the end there, Leclerc with 4 wins and 4 fastest laps. Perez with only 1 win and 1 fastest lap. So Perez was a lot more consistent over the course of the season. But Leclerc, he had very low lows, getting a couple of DNFs, but when he wasn't DNFing, he was right towards the front. And, really, same too for Perez. He up until the third last round of the season, he didn't finish outside the top 4, but then in Brazil, he finished 7th, and in Abu Dhabi, 14th. And in the end, those 2 poor performances from himself cost him a World Drivers' Championship. That's how on top of your game you've got to be in Formula 1. It's just very nice to see this breakdown of finishing positions and how spread out the front guys really are, with wins going all the way down to Max Verstappen there. In fact, Lewis Hamilton, not even winning until the very final round of the season. So, yeah, very spread out season results here, and it is just a very interesting stat to look at. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. In the next video, we'll be heading into Season 2, going through contract negotiations. Will we stay with Williams? Will we move to another team? As much as I'd like to say the decision is ours, we are a Mercedes junior driver. It is sort of up to them what we do with our careers. As I said, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.